Good afternoon. I am Aaron Akirajola. I want to say we have a special coverage of the 2023 Nigerian Presidential and National Assembly elections. My colleague here is with me, Ni.
Well, yes, good to have you with us. And as we make progress, our constitutional lawyer, Liberos Shoma, who is here with us in the Lagos studio, and from Arise Abuja studio, Professor Adele Jinadu. Good to have you both with us. And of course, we're going to start with Liberos. It's good to have you with us.
My pleasure.
All right, we've seen the elections, which has progressed. It has started for some time now, and we've seen all the crowd issues in some of the venues. But I'd like your thoughts from going into this election and where we are today. Liberos.
Yeah, I like the fact that the election is here, and all of the presumptions and the fears entertained by a lot of people. You saw the way people were buying in the supermarket as if we were going for war. And there were also rumors that the election might be postponed and the government of the day might not want to leave. But you're here and people are, going out to cast their ballot. And the process in most areas have been seamless, barring one or two logistics and late arrival of materials. But by and large, what it tells me is that if given the opportunity, Nigerians are ready to conduct themselves, no matter the fears, no matter the challenges. And there are some areas where there's even no presence of security operatives, but you see the people comport themselves, and went about their normal duties. And we've seen security operatives also patrolling, like in Lagos, but nobody had been harassed so far in these axis of town. And and the process for INEC, kudos to them also. The process has been very seamless. 10, maximum 12 minutes. You've cast your ballot, and you still see people hanging around, trying to eventually see the outcome of the.
Do you think, to a large extent, the BVAS technology is actually working here? Because we saw them being attended to as quickly as possible in some venues. Unlike
the 2015, where the card readers, you had incidents of massive card reader failure, but the BVAS is different, so we've not had, cries of people saying the BVAS is unable to identify my, biometrics, or I can't find my information on the BVAS and the rest. So it's really a game changer. I was talking to a few young men just before stepping up, and they said, well, they like the fact that INEC has introduced a novel idea, and he's really made the process so seamless, and you no longer see that massive crowd, people struggling to vote and say, oh, I can't find my name, or I've not been able to accredit since I came in this morning. Apart from the fact that you have late arrival of materials in certain areas. So it really has, changed a lot of things. What that also means is that if we'll consistently introduce and innovate technology, in our election management process, you can eliminate a lot of manipulations and allow the people free will to determine who will govern them.
All right, let's cross over to Abuja, where we have Professor Jinadu. And Professor, I want to just get your overall assessment of all that happened. Arise News has been extensive in their coverage of the presidential candidates, the leading ones. And just give us your overview of what you've seen today, from accreditation to voting. Let's get your perspective.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be back on Arise. And I agree entirely with the analysis assessment that my co-guest has offered. I think it shows that a lot of work has been put into the electoral process by INEC and, to a large extent, the security agencies. I just came out of the CDD Guest Analysis Center now, and the report we are getting from across the country, from our field officers, show that apart from glitches few glitches and issues here and there, which are to be expected given the vast logistic exercise that is involved in the elections. I think we've started off on a good note. And hopefully, things will continue the way they've started. So that is what we are tracking. But so far, I think we have a much better start than we've experienced in the past immediate electoral cycles.
Very good, Professor Jinadu. If I may come back to you, Liberals, just like the professor mentioned, the fact that there are few glitches every now and then. I know when I have to cover some off-season elections, that is to be expected. You can't have everything like 100%, as it were. But let's take a look at this scenario. A candidate needs to have the most votes at 25% ballots cast in 2/3 of Nigeria states to be declared winner. And if no one achieves that, there will be a runoff within 21 days, which is a first in Nigeria's history. What if we don't achieve that? Because earlier on, there were probably some thoughts that this election might go for a runoff at this stage because of the individualism of the candidates.
Yeah, but before I answer that your question, I would say, while we expect a few glitches here and there, but there are some that are recurrent. Take, for example, in I think the RAC Center in Makurdi, Urukrum roundabout in Makurdi, where INEC officials had had, materials hostage that their allowances had not been paid. I know somewhere also in Delta State. I think we should have moved past that level where you remember the Anambra scenario, was it one local government in Anambra during the election then you had scenario?
Our Liberals, permit me to just allow you press a pause button, and we'll come back to that particular point because it's very, very important. But let's get to hear from the presidential candidates, the lady wants, and let's start it off with the PDP presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, as well as his vice presidential candidate, Ifeanyi Okowa. We'll be going around most of them, but this is Atiku speaking and Okowa also speaking separately after voting. Let's get to hear from him.
I think it's a worthwhile exercise, but then I think as far as the accessibility of the new currency to the ordinary man, I think it needs to be done. More needs to be done. I am very optimistic.
We definitely are very certain that the People's Democratic Party will win the elections nationally because we put in a lot of work and we have put out our document there. Our documents are covenant with Nigerians and we believe in what we have spoken to Nigerians. We are not deceitful in what we do. We are prepared. A prepared team, a prepared party to take charge over the affairs of Nigeria. We do know exactly that at the moment, Nigeria is not working the way it ought to work. But we are confident that working with all Nigerians, the private sector, the public sector, and all our people across Nigeria, working in a united manner, that we are able to tackle all the issues of insecurity, the issue of the poor economy that we are suffering from, the restructuring of this country, the education of our children, which is key, the fact that we need to create jobs for our nation, the fact that we need to develop powers to every part of this country and to ensure that the states have more funds. We are confident in what we do, and we thank God for the very peaceful elections. I must truly say thank you to INEC for what we see at the moment, and we say thank you to Mr. President for ensuring that there is fairness in this election.
That was the PDP presidential candidate, Atiku earlier, and of course his vice presidential candidate, Okowa there. Now, Vice President candidate of the Labour Party, Yusuf Dati Ahmed, has cast his ballot at polling unit 21, Tudunwada Ward in Zaria, Kaduna State. He expressed satisfaction at the conduct of the process and commended the electoral body for conducting themselves cordially.
Our most peaceful campaigns all over Nigeria, one of its kind, is the first testament to which, but there is this caveat that we are all skipping, so to put it, that as long as the elections are adjudged to be free, fair, and just. So keep that in mind. However, even to the contrary of that, we have never been the kind of people that will incite anything besides peace. But we also insist firmly on justice being done.
And now moving on, Rivers Governor Nyesom Wike has expressed disappointment over the functionality of the bimodal voter accreditation system, the BVAS machine, in his polling units. Governor Wike arrived at his polling unit 7 in Ward 9 in Obio Akpo local government area with his wife, Justice Suzette Eberechi Wike, at about 10:30 a.m. According to him, he and his wife could not be accredited. He noted that over 20 minutes of unsuccessful tries, a female electoral officer appealed to him to check back. Meanwhile, Governor Wike has described the early process as a failure and says he is disappointed with the functionality of the machine at his polling units.
You can see the failure. I'm highly disappointed. We're all told that INEC had expressed confidence that they are ready for the election, that the beavers are working. They can see the crowd here. I don't believe that most people were allowed to vote with the slow walking of the beavers, because I stayed over 25 minutes there, and yet I couldn't vote, and I was told to go and come back. And before that, they would have rectified the beavers. So I'm highly disappointed.
Governor Wike there. Now in Alhaji Kukawa unit, Maiduguri, where the APC vice presidential candidate will cast his vote. It's 9:30 o'clock, but voters have not seen the voting materials. The INEC officials also are not on ground. According to situations there, voters arrived early morning to cast their votes, but they are disappointed as no INEC staff appear at the polling unit. Now, these voters are still waiting for the arrival of voting materials. They are disappointed by this move so far.
We are waiting for them. We are waiting for them more than 1 hour plus now. And they give us time around 8:30 to be around. So up to now, we don't see them. We don't know what is going on. Nothing at all. We still expect them to come. But now I'm disappointed because there's time for everything. We've got so many places now that are about to finish their own master.
Now let's cross on to Anambra State, where we are being joined by the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Gregory Obi. I want to say thank you very much for joining us on this very special day. And we want to say to you, first of all, kicking off things, you have cast your vote. Talk to us about the turnout. Governor Wike complained about failure in his own end in Rivers State, Obiakpo, and the polling unit there. Talk to us, how was voting accreditation, first of all, then voting in your own polling unit?
Well, mine is, I'll say, is fairly okay. I came to the polling unit, queued up like every other voter. I think I was number 20-something. And within a short time, I was accredited, then went through the beavers process, which was seamless, and I voted. So for me, it was okay. But I can't use it to assess what is happening all over the country until I hear reports on other people's experience. In my own situation, it was okay. The line was moving on seamlessly.
For these elections, there were concerns that the Southeast people might be under some kind of influence, that they might not come out en masse to vote. And even Ohanes Indigbo had to come out, to appeal to people to come out and vote. So what are your thoughts from where you are in Anambra and to a larger extent in the Southeast? How would you assess people's response to vote in these very crucial elections?
Well, I can tell you that from where I stand, the people's response were very, very okay. You know, the Southeast issue of election and everything, I'd always said it's somehow exaggerated, because I remember when we started campaign, people said we will not be able to campaign in the Southeast. And because of it, I made sure I campaigned in open markets, I campaigned everywhere and everything. Even when journalists and everybody was coming here this morning, they all told me, we came here looking to see police and military and everything. And I said to them, I'm in my village. I cannot be sitting here with tanks and police or security in my village. And we live like common family.
All right, okay, let's talk about the electoral umpire, INEC, and what they've done so far. Give us your assessment of them, and what are you expecting from them today? Very special day, I must say.
Well, what I'm expecting from, well, for me, I said, what happened at my polling unit is fairly okay, and they've done a good work. If that is what is happening all over the country, I'm yet to get the reports and assessment of what is happening all over the country. If that is the same, all I urge them to go ahead and ensure free, fair, and credible election to the end.
Very good, Mr. Obi. Now, I know you mentioned earlier that you de-emphasized security details regarding your own personal security, as it were. But generally, you know, I think to a large extent, 300,000 plus security personnel have been deployed by the police so far. But in Anambra, how would you describe their deployment in relation to these elections?
Well, I don't know what is happening. Like I said, for me, I've campaigned all over Nigeria. I've campaigned in the Southeast, and I feel there's insecurity all over Nigeria. That of the Southeast is not exceptional, rather it's often been exaggerated. And they tend to listen to some rogue actors making statements that are not factual, or showing videos that don't exist. You know, videos that have happened, or what has happened in the past, and using it to compare what is happening today. I've been in Anambra a few days now, moving around. I've not had any reason to say, oh, well, it's very secured.
All right, Mr. Peter Obi, please talk to us. What do you make of the situations that are reaching us that the Labour Party logo is missing on some ballot papers? All right, people express concern, especially in Ondo State. Talk to us about this.
Well, we expected in the ballot paper to show clearly the LP sign is not there, and somebody had told me that in some states the logo is completely missing. Well, I'm worried. I don't know why it should be. I think now is we should have been going the way other smaller nations of Africa is doing, like Ghana, where they don't only have the names, you have your picture, boldly written, and the party. After the number of people contesting the election is only 18 of us. They should have had our pictures and everything, but I'm not complaining. It's a process.
All right, Mr. Peter Obi of the Labour Party, presidential candidate of the Labour Party, would like to thank you for taking the time to speak with Arise News. Good to have you, and we wish you the best of luck. And now we'll continue with our discussions with Liberals. Shoma is still with us in the studio. Now, earlier on, just before we, cut you off, we're talking about the issue of a runoff possibility, within the next 21 days. But you're also making another valid point regarding
logistic issues.
Yes, yes.
And also now, Governor Nyesom Wike has added to the issues the non-functionality of the beavers. INEC also had said that they were going to deploy extra beavers to some of these areas in quick response. I think, some of such places should have, a quick response so that at the end of the day, you have a situations where everybody is allowed to go through the process, so that we don't have a situation where some persons are commending the process heavily. You have some other persons who are giving them heavily knock, transparently saying what is happening.
For more on this, constitutional lawyer Liberos Oshoma is here with us, and another lawyer, Frank Tete, joins us from our Abuja studio. And let's kick it off with you, Frank. Thank you very much for joining us here on this special edition of Nigerian Elections 2023. And Frank, as it stands right now, a lot of people, the information has been out there. Yes, and this information has been out there. And more importantly, help us expand on Section 134, demystify it for us in the simplest of terms.
All right, thank you. Section 134 contemplates a lot of things. But the operational words are majority and highest. What is common to the three possible elections that are contained in Section 134 are that, one, the winner, if in the case of only two candidates, which is not the case we are having now. In the case of two candidates, we talk about majority of votes. But when you have multiple candidates beyond two, we talk about highest number of votes. Now, for a candidate to emerge winner and ultimate president from the election, first, he has to have, in this scenario, when we have more than two candidates, he has to have the highest number of votes cast in the elections. That's just one condition. In addition to that, he has to have 1/4 of the votes, that is 25% of votes cast in two-thirds of the number of states in Nigeria and the FCT. That's quite important. So highest versus majority. Now, in case that doesn't happen, INEC is mandated under the provisions of Section 134, subsection 3, to within 21 days organize an election between the first one candidate that has, in case of two candidates alone, but we don't have two candidates in this election, we have more than two. The election will be between the candidate with the highest number of votes with a second candidate that has majority of votes in the highest number of states. There is a need to define majority. Majority presupposes that it is more than 50% of the vote cast in the highest number of states. In case he doesn't get that, or what a problematic provision there, in case there are two candidates that have that qualification, then the second candidate of that election will be determined by the candidate that has the highest number of votes. When that is determined, they will now proceed to a second election. The winner of that second election is the person that scores the highest number of votes. No, he scores the majority of votes. That is more than 50% of the votes cast totally in the entire election, together with 1/4 of the votes cast in two-thirds of the state.
All right, very good, Frank. We'll need to come back to you regarding those explanations. Well, we have the INEC chairman he's about to give a speech right now, so we need to listen.
In these locations, the target of attack was actually the beavers machines. No longer are ballot papers or ballot boxes. It's the beavers machines. But in the two instances, were able to recover and continue with the process. But there are also other complaints we had from some political parties about the shortage of polling agents' tags, the identity tags. Nigerians may recall that for the first time we designed a portal encourage all political parties, as required by law, to nominate their polling agents. They never interviewed face to face. And we harvested over 1.5 million nominations from political parties for agents at polling units level alone, and over 68,000 for collation at ward level, local government level, state, and 27 collation agents for the national collation as nominated by the 18 political parties. And we printed those cards and delivered them in the main to the states, where they were collected by the state chairman of political parties. But not all the parties nominated agents for all the polling units. So we did what we were supposed to do. And if there are issues, then definitely these issues will not be from the commission. But we also realized, and that is why we created the portal, that parties would like to issue agents their own tags bearing only the logos of the party and the word agent written across. In this case, anybody can claim to be the agent of any political party at any level, resulting in some instances promotion during collation, where two or more agents will claim to represent a political party. And that's why we created the portal where they uploaded the names of the agents and the descriptions where they are going to serve as agents, as well as their photographs. And these tags were laminated and delivered to the states. One of the parties drew my attention to a letter. They said in one of the states, they were given a letter by INEC in the absence of the accreditation chart. But our officials at the polling unit level did not recognize those agents because they were not bearing the INEC accredited cards. I requested that gentleman to share a copy of that letter with me. He shared a copy of that letter, and it was clearly issued by his party, not by INEC. And when I drew his attention to it, he immediately deleted the message. So this is the clarification on the issue of agents. And I would still like to advise political parties that as we go into the concluding phase of this election, particularly when we go into collation of results, the Commission will insist that only INEC accredited collation agents will be admitted into the collation centers. Finally, there was an issue raised by some of the political parties, particularly at the polling unit level this morning. They said that in some instances, the logos of the political parties were on the ballot papers, but the acronyms of the political parties were not on the result sheets. I need to provide this important clarification. The process of producing the result sheet is more complicated than the production of the ballot paper. For result sheets at polling unit level, they are polling unit specific, and they are in several carbonized copies that the commission will retain the top copies, the first 2 top copies, and then give each polling agent at polling unit level a copy, and 1 copy goes to the police. The process of producing the result sheet is a lot more complicated than the production of the ballot papers. So what we did on the result sheets was to provide 2 additional blank rows. And the purpose of these 2 additional blank rows is to accommodate any political party that we may be compelled to accommodate on the ballot paper by 11th hour judicial pronouncement. So those 2 additional rows are supposed to take care of that eventuality. So where you have a party on the ballot, but the logo is not on any of the result sheets, this can actually be added to the result sheets, for which rows have been provided accordingly. And the presiding officers and the collation agents are authorized to accept and certify and stamp the insertion of political parties where this situation arises. There are also unfolding situations in Abia and Imo states. In Abia, deployment is taking place late to the polling units. The commission is aware, but we are assuring voters in Abia state that no matter how late we deploy to the polling units, if voters are on the queue before 2:30, they will vote no matter how long it takes. So we are aware of the situation in Abia state. We are also aware of the situation in Imo state. Generally speaking, but specifically in respect of 4 local government areas: Okigwe, Uguta, Osu, and Olu local government areas. In the whole of Osu, we had issues in all the 11 wards.